Hi guys, I'm Lily. I am one of the education interns at the Green Bay Botanical Garden, and today we are going to talk about where the butterflies go once the exhibit is closed. So today is August 10th. The exhibit closes on August 31st, so you have about 3 more weeks to come on in and see the butterflies, but just know that it is closing relatively soon, so if you haven't gotten a chance to come in and see it yet, you should come on in within the next couple weeks. The reason that we have to close the exhibit is we have this mesh covering, so it's kind of a partially outdoor exhibit. The weather of the outside affects what's going on inside. So once it starts to get cooler, we don't want to have the butterfly exhibit open. If you came in last week at the beginning of the week, it was, in the 60s for a couple of days. And the butterflies aren't super active once it starts to get to those cooler temperatures. They really prefer 70 and above, and they really prefer the sunny temperatures. Even today with just kind of overcast, even though it's decently warm, the butterflies aren't really flying around too much. A lot of them are kind of sitting down and everything. So we don't have the exhibit open after the end of August. But there are some butterfly houses in the country that are open all year because they are actually just completely enclosed. That's actually how a lot of butterfly exhibits are. And that is one of the places that we will send our butterflies after this exhibit closes. So at Reman Gardens in Iowa, actually at Iowa State University, that is where we will send any remaining butterflies at the end of this exhibit. So this week is actually our last week of butterfly shipments, and then the last couple weeks of the summer we won't bring in any new butterflies because they wouldn't really have time to hatch. They wouldn't really have time to fly around here. They'd just kind of hatch, and then it would almost be time to go down to Iowa. So it's not really worth it to bring them in at that point. But butterflies will be flying around for all of the last weeks of the exhibit. There's still plenty of butterflies around here, so don't worry. You won't see any less butterflies if you come in the last couple weeks. Just know that you might not see the chrysalises or anything like that as much until all of the butterflies hatch. But so part of the reason that we have to send the butterflies down to Iowa, again, is because it's going to start to get cooler here, and then also the butterflies have to have those warm temperatures. And so one question that a lot of people are going to ask is, how do the butterflies go down to Iowa? So some of the butterflies that are in here right now aren't going to quite make it to the end of summer. They usually live about 2 to 4 weeks once they're in their adult life stage, but they will for the most part still be a lot of butterflies that need to go down there. So the interns and the other staff will collect the butterflies and put them in envelopes that are specially designed for storage, and then they will get chilled for a little bit. That's exactly how the chrysalises arrive. They are just a little bit chilled to put the butterflies in a dormant stage, so that way they can be safely transported overnight down to Iowa. So they won't be in that dormant stage for a really long time. It won't hurt them. They will just go overnight to Iowa, and then they will get to wake up there, and for the most part they'll come out of that and they'll get to live out their last couple of weeks in that indoor house in Iowa. And now one of the questions we also get is, why can't you just release any butterflies that remain into the wild? Why do they have to go to this indoor butterfly house? And there are a couple of reasons for that. So we do have 2 types of butterflies in here. We have some native species and we have some tropical species. The tropical species we especially don't want to release into Wisconsin, especially as it gets into September and it gets cooler. They're not used to those cooler temperatures. They really want that warm indoor temperature that Iowa will provide for them in that enclosed space. And they also really won't have any of their native plants around here. In the butterfly house we can bring in their native plants, but if they're just flying around Wisconsin, they won't have their native plants and they won't really be that successful. And then we have our native species as well, and there are 2 main reasons that we don't want to introduce them into the wild. One is that they can potentially mate with some of the wild population around here, and we don't want to accidentally introduce any diseases into the wild population from the butterflies in here. All the butterflies in here come from breeders that are very sanitary, But you never know, just in case there might be a disease on one of the butterflies in here. We don't want to allow them to breed with the native populations around here. Additionally, the butterflies in here have completely been raised in captivity from a breeder and then brought to here. So they don't know how to behave in the wild. And I know it's a little different, but you wouldn't really want to release a monkey from the zoo into the wild because they've completely been raised in captivity. They don't know how to behave in the wild, and it's a similar concept for the butterflies. But like I said, the butterflies will be here for about 3 more weeks before they go on their little trip down to Iowa, so you can still come on in and see all the butterflies. Remember, you do have to have a reservation to come to the butterfly house, so you can go to gbbg.org to make that reservation. And also remember that face masks are required in the butterfly house and also the building when you enter, although in the other parts of the garden as you're walking around they're not required. But make sure to have one with you so that way you can come in and see all the butterflies before they leave. Thank you for watching.